This is an MSNBC special. White House in crisis. Here is Keith Olbermann.
The profound unpopularity of President Bush reached historic proportions today. In our fourth story, a new poll finding that no president in modern American history has been so unpopular for so long, and only one president ever racked up a higher disapproval number. The Washington Post's new survey finding that nearly 2 out of 3 Americans, 65%, disapproving of Mr. Bush's performance as president. On August 5th, 1974, at the height of Watergate, 4 days before those images, with 50,000 dead in Vietnam, 66% of Americans disapproved of Richard Nixon's performance as president. Other than Mr. Nixon, only Harry Truman matched Mr. Bush's 65%. Once he did that compared to Mr. Bush's 3 times so far. So little surprise, perhaps, that Tacoma Park, Maryland City Council, this week voted unanimously to impeach both Mr. Bush and, of course, Mr. Cheney as well. It became the 81st municipality to do so. In addition to Mr. Nixon's departure, Lyndon Johnson had decided not to seek re-election after just 52% disapproved of his performance. President Clinton's worst numbers, 51%, came in his first term and got better during the push for impeachment in his second. Let's turn now to Bruce Fein, who served President Reagan as Deputy Attorney General and is an old colleague from what seems like 9 lifetimes ago, the original White House in Crisis program on this network. Bruce, great to talk to you again, sir.
Thank you for inviting me.
Do you think this president needs to be impeached?
Yes, I think the Founding Fathers intended the impeachment threshold to be satisfied if there were political crimes against the Constitution, against our checks and balances and separation of powers. Those are the mechanisms, what you might call the scientific method, for staying on an even keel, avoiding folly and abuses. And I think President Bush, over the years, has crippled that mechanism.
You remember as well as I do from 9 years ago the practical politics of this. If you move to impeach a president, you may very well increase his popularity and decrease the popularity of the politicians who make the move. What do you do about that reality?
Well, you've got to go back more than just President Clinton. I was there when President Nixon was impeached, and I can guarantee you those who were the proponents ended up far better than those who were his defenders. The Republicans who stayed with him to the last end were the ones who lost their seats. And my recollection also is with regard to Clinton, the Republicans did not lose a large number, or if at all, any seats in the House and the Senate. But certainly political calculations are going to enter into how vigorously the House or the Senate pursues an impeachment inquiry. It seems to me, however, that to move beyond that, it's the American people themselves that have to make a consensus that they do not trust Mr. Bush and Mr. Cheney with the reins of power, given their very, very extravagant claims of what the president can do after 9/11. For example, utilize the idea that all of the United States is a military battlefield and they could impose martial law anytime they wished.
This 81st municipality to make a vote, a symbolic vote along the lines of what Tacoma Park in Maryland did, it cited Mr. Bush's leading statements about Iraq prior to the war. Is that element the soundest legal case for impeachment in your opinion, Bruce? And if not, what is?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that a misleading statement by itself would necessarily show that level of contempt for the Constitution. I mean, Lyndon Johnson made misstatements about attacks by North Vietnamese boat to get the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, but the strongest case are his claim that he can surveil Americans, intercept their emails in violation of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, that he can run secret government. For example, your program earlier, Keith, in a rather understated way indicated that we don't know of secret programs that haven't leaked to the New York Times yet that are spying on Americans. And it may well be, as the Church Committee discovered 10, 20 years afterwards, that there's been massive misuse of intelligence. Also, his claim that he can identify any American citizen as an enemy combatant, detain them indefinitely in Guantanamo Bay without access to lawyers, utilizing secret evidence to detain them. Those are the kinds of egregious violations of due process and notions of judicial review and checks that justify the conclusion that these are political crimes against the Constitution itself.
One more thing that may be added to this ledger, Bruce. The conservative website WorldNet Daily had posted today a critique of Mr. Bush that could have read like one posted on liberal websites that referred specifically to this executive order that he signed last week, claiming the power to seize anyone's assets if he decides they have so much as received goods or services from someone who might pose a risk of committing violence in Iraq. A, can he do this? B, can he do this to Americans in America? And C, what does the Fifth Amendment say about it?
Well, he's claimed authority to do this under the International Economic Emergencies Powers Act, and even if it authorized him to do that, the Constitution surely does not. Because the gist of the executive order is to impose a financial death penalty on anyone who he says on his say-so alone creates a significant risk of undermining the rehabilitation program or political reforms in Iraq. A significant risk. Now, they could conclude that you have a risk if you are very hostile to the various policies that he's undertaken in Iraq. And this idea that you could end your financial life unilaterally without notice is totally antithetical to the Fifth Amendment.
As clear and as ever allegiant first to the Constitution, Bruce Fein, constitutional lawyer and former Reagan Deputy Attorney General. Good to talk to you again, sir, and thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.